Have you ever wondered how franchises make money and if franchising could be something in your future? Well, today I interview Greg Mohr, a Wall Street Journal best-selling author and an expert in the area. He runs franchisemaven.com and he's a franchise consultant with an amazing story. And he talks about getting into franchising, the different levels of franchising from a single tenant operator to a master franchise licensee, what it takes, the potential opportunity there for you. It's a fascinating conversation. So if you're interested in business, you're interested in entrepreneurship, and you're interested in expanding your income and your wealth, you got to listen to this episode. Hey, welcome listeners. Today, I have the distinct honor and privilege of having Greg Mohr on the show today. He is a former corporate ladder climber, a best-selling Wall Street Journal author, and a franchise consultant of the year. And his business is franchise consulting. And I know that most of you that listen to the show are already business owners or entrepreneurs, and you're looking to create wealth and accelerate that process. So I'm excited to learn from Greg more about franchising and how that can relate to maybe accelerating a current business situation. So, Greg, welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. I'm excited here. So, just real quick background. How does one become a franchise consultant? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, the first step into franchising that I received was actually a long, long time ago, back in high school when I got my first job. Back in the late 70s, most of us went to work for fast food places.
Mm.
It's kind of an easy job to get. And I just happened to pick Taco Bell, and I just happened to start working for a master franchiser. She had about 50 restaurants, Taco Bell restaurants throughout the Sacramento, California, and Woodland, California area. So that was my first foray into franchising. Really loved it, had a good time. Went on to become a restaurant manager of other restaurants, a microelectronic circuit engineer. But then I left corporate world. And while I was in corporate, I had a couple of businesses as well. When you and I talked about private business versus franchises, I got started with a couple of private businesses with a friend of mine, dry cleaners, storage units, rental properties. Then I left the corporate world and I wanted to go out there and do something else. But that private business that I got into, that was a big challenge because I didn't know too much about dry cleaning or anything about dry cleaning except where to take my dry cleaning to on that. So I had to learn all that on my own. So I thought, I want to get into my own business. I don't have the latest, greatest idea, and doing it with a private business on my own was a bit of a challenge. So thought back to my franchising days, and I thought, that was wonderful. That was real easy to step into those because they had the playbook. So I thought, I'm going to go out there and get myself a franchise. And so, I went click happy all over the internet, had all these people calling me, but I finally got a hold of a franchise consultant who really simplified the process. They put me into a franchise, really good, nice franchise that I got into. Loved doing that. But while I was doing that franchise for the first couple of years, I just keep thinking back of what those franchise consultants did. And I thought, that's really nice. I really enjoyed working from home because I lived out in the country and I still do at the time. So going into the population centers and running the telecommunications franchise that I had to was a bit of a drive. So I wanted to do something from home. I liked helping other people. And I got to work all over the United States and basically all over the world. So I went back to them and said, I like what you do, that franchise consulting thing. Teach me how to do that. So I sold off my franchise business. I said, show me what's going on there. And that was 12 years ago, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. So you kind of stumbled into it. Essentially, you experienced it growing up, and then you sort of made a complete circle. It sounds like you went the education route, corporate route, engineering. I have an actually engineering background too, and I didn't work in it very long. I don't know if you were motivated. You said you wanted to go into business. Maybe it was the freedom motivation. That was my motivation. I couldn't go into an office and sit and. In fact, I remember when I was in school, I was co-oping, and I was sitting in a room. It's probably no larger than 8 by 10. And there was about 6 people kind of crammed in a room. And we were making these very expensive network analyzer boxes that sort of early on in the internet, very expensive, like $70,000 boxes. Anyway, they argued for about 2 hours about the color of the little rubber booties that needed to be on the bottom of the product. And I'm like, no, I can't. I need a gun in my head. If I do this, there's no way. And so anyway, so it sounds like you're kind of motivated by the same thing and looking for a way to get out. But so franchising for you represented, you said that you didn't have maybe necessarily a creative idea or something, and you didn't have a lot of experience, but you thought, hey man, maybe I can learn from somebody who's already gone before me, and hence you are where you are.
Exactly right on that. And I was the same thing with you. I was doing that engineering thing after I got my degree, 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. They wanted you at your desk from 7 to 5. If you left for too long, they got a little upset. And it's like I got to have more freedom than this. This is nuts
Yeah.
on that. But yeah, the franchising thing was really good. I really like that playbook that they have, that step by step playbook, so you can just step right in and just take off, basically take off running. And private compared to a franchise business, it's more of a personal decision on that one. But I like the franchising because I wanted somebody there to help me. I wanted a whole team of people that was going to help me grow that business and be there for me when I had questions. I didn't have anybody to ask questions to when I did dry cleaning, so I had to look it all up myself or figure it out myself, or me and my partner did. We were working together. So franchising, I got the whole team behind me, got that playbook. You teach me how to do that, boy, I'm taking off. I'm ready to go.
Well, okay. So, and you mentioned you dropped a term early in your experience with Taco Bell that this person you went to work for was a master franchiser. So, I don't know. We're getting ahead of the sort of the questions here and the thought process, but I do want to get into that because I know there's different types of franchise, different levels of franchises. So let's start at the beginning a little bit. Just sort of maybe you can sort of A B franchise versus doing it yourself, and then what's a typical franchise, and then sort of the levels that are available, because I don't think a lot of people understand, particularly business owners. We're sort of nose to the grindstone out there building our own thing. To your point, having to find the answers, having to bring the people in, there's really no one to ask, so you're learning the hard way. But so we're busy, right? We don't maybe don't know that world and what exists out there.
That's correct. So when you're first starting off getting into a franchise system on that, or just getting into business itself, you can go two routes. You can get your own private business, or you can, do a franchise route. It's basically a personal decision. You do your own private business, that's yours. You can do anything and everything you want with it, grow it anywhere you want, but you're on your own doing it on that. You're the one that's doing it and making all the decisions. You get into a franchise because they've already made the mistakes in the past. They've done all that. They've gone through that. They will make certain that you don't make those mistakes. They've got that playbook. You step right into it. You do pay for it. So most franchises, on average, you pay a franchise fee of $50,000, give or take. That's just the franchise fee. Now the rest of it's going to be the total investment on that. So when we get into franchising, we're going to be taking a look at the different types of franchises you can get into. We'll start with the unit franchise, area developer, and the master franchise. Most people start off with the unit franchise, which is just one territory of a franchise. And most franchisors give you a protected territory so that no other franchisees can do business in that area, which is great because now you're not competing with other franchisees. So now not only do you have that franchisor helping you build up and grow that business, but as you talk to the other franchisees, as you're doing your due diligence, making sure it's the right franchise for you, you've got another whole team of people. The other franchisees are helping you grow. Okay, so you start off with one unit, no competition from other franchisees. That's a single unit territory. Most people start off that way. Now, if you're very thrilled about that franchise, think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and you want to go even further, you might take on an area development. So you may take on your entire city. So the franchise may say, well, there are 5 territories in your city on that. So you can have, if you'd like, you can purchase the rights to all 5 cities. You get a discount, so it won't be $250,000 for the franchise fee. It's usually $50,000 for the first territory, and then discounted territories from there. So that gives you opportunity to expand out where you're opening up each unit. It's going to be different if you have a brick and mortar versus a service industry franchise. With a brick and mortar, you've got that building that you're going to be going into. Generally, you don't buy the property, you rent, lease on that, and you may have a build out plan. So if you get into something that's a brick and mortar, you may build 1 territory the first year, 2 the second year, and then 3 the third year. So you've got a little bit of a build out plan, or however many areas that you purchased on that. With the master franchisor plan, now you've purchased all 5 of those territories that are in your city. You build out one, and that'll be your training unit on that. What you're going to do then is you're going to sell the rights to somebody else for those other uh, territories you have. So there's other 4 on there. So you'll get a portion of that franchise feedback. You get a discount on buying the whole territory as master
Mhm.
franchisor. So if you bought them all for $10,000 each, those other 4 territories, then you sell them for $20,000 each. So you get your money back and then some on that. In addition to that, what you're going to be doing with that pilot unit is that's going to be your training unit, that first unit that you bought out. and you're going to be basically a right arm to that franchisor, where you're going to be helping them do the training on those. So the franchisor doesn't necessarily have to do the training for each person. You, as a master franchisor, those 4 territories that now you have for sale on that, you sell them, you train those people to do that in your pilot unit. They go out and run those units themselves, build them out themselves, use their money to do that. And then you get a portion of the royalties also. So the royalties are the portion where the franchisor makes most of the money on
Mhm.
that, is what that's coming from. Generally between 5 and 10% off gross sales. As a master franchisor, now you're going to get half, usually about half of that. It's going to vary by franchise, not always exactly the same, but you get about half of that. So it's a great way to build an annuity, long time annuity. You just build out that one pilot unit, that's your training unit, train the people, sell your other units. Now you've got 4 other people that are that you're bringing in those royalties from. Great way to do business. A little bit more of an investment up front, but
Mhm.
really a great way to build an empire. And 5 is not necessarily standard. You can do as many as you like. So if you want to build
Ah.
out a state, you can say, I'll take the whole state. I'll take 50 territories on that. You pretty much really better believe in that franchise if you're going to do something like that. That's a big investment for a long time.
Yeah, because you're investing up front for the opportunity, then basically buying the licensing rights to do it over time,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct, Paul.
And to get, something at that scale, like a statewide, you're probably not gonna be buying Taco Bell, right? You're gonna be buying a franchise that's newer in the process?
Correct, Paul. Generally speaking, that's correct. There's not a lot of those big franchises like McDonald's or Taco Bell's, that sort of thing, where they're going to have that much open territory
Hmm.
remaining on that one. Um, so you'll be probably going for one that you can still get a large one that has maybe 100 or more franchisees. They just haven't grown into your area yet. But some of the real big name brand ones, probably not, because as you indicated, Paul, they're probably sold out through most of it. Somebody's already picked up the rights to that, probably.
Are you, from a strategy standpoint, if so obviously franchising has been around for quite some time. You mentioned Taco Bell, and you see them everywhere today, and obviously it's a great model because they're everywhere, different franchises. Um, what I mean, if someone coming in, I mean, do you tend to lead people to the newer up and coming franchises that are kind of trendy, or something that's sort of bigger and established? I'm thinking bigger and established is maybe less risky, but probably more capital intensive, and maybe the revenue's not as good. I mean, what do you have kind of any insight there?
Absolutely. Great question on that one. That's one of the questions that I ask my people on that one. So when they're coming in, I don't steer anybody towards anything in particular. What I do is I ask a lot of questions and find out what it is they're looking for on that. And that'll be one of the questions that I'll ask them is, if do you want an emerging brand or do you want one more established? We have plenty of more established brands. Keep in mind, we've been talking just a lot about brick and mortar franchises, but on the other
Mhm.
end of the spectrum, we have the service industry franchises that are a lot less, around $150,000 total investment, give or take. And there's a few of them out there that have 100 or more franchisees within each unit, and then there's some that have more than one franchise in their system. So if we take a neighborly brands or authority brands, where they have neighborly has about 20 different franchises in their portfolio. Authority brands has about 10 or 15 of them in there. So we can still get into a very large system. The
Mhm.
question will be for me to you, Paul, is, Paul, do you, where's your risk at? Do you want to reduce that risk, like you were indicating there, Paul, and get into something that has more franchisees, that has more established and have reproduced it many, many times before, reducing that risk? Or do you want something that you can grow with even more, an emerging brand that doesn't have all those territories taken up out there? So you got more of an opportunity to expand with the franchise and more of an ability to work with the franchise to grow that franchise and help them grow with that. I've got a person right now that they want to grow with that franchise. They specifically tell me, we want an emerging brand, 20
Mhm.
franchises or less, because we want to grow with that brand. And then I have other people out there that say, no, find me one that's got, 100 or more franchises in their system, but
Hmm.
they just haven't expanded out into this area yet. So that's more of a personal decision of what you feel about it. With an emerging brand, again, you got to feel really good about that franchise system because, they're just starting out. Now, if you got into Orange Theory when it just started out, you were golden.
Yeah.
But then how many other fitnesses brands at the same time came out as Orange Theory. Orange Theory made it. Some of the other ones might not have. So a little bit more of a risk there, but you get involved with the right one and you're doing good. You got to believe in the people that are running it.
So, okay, that's a great question. So, the people that are running it and the brand, and it sounds like to me that when you're buying a franchise, I mean, that's really what you're buying. You're buying name exposure potentially. So you have consumers that recognize the brand. B, the systems and the training that you're talking about. So I don't have to start from a white clean sheet of paper and try to figure it out, right? And
Yep.
but then that stuff is only as good as the people behind the whole system, right? Because if the people
Correct.
behind the system are flawed, I mean, we're all flawed in the way, but you know what I mean, they've character
Yeah.
issues or whatever. So how do I know that I'm making a good choice? How do I even investigate? Because it's a lot of money to put up front, and then if you're going to commit your time as well and say I'm gonna leave my job, or maybe I'm going to take some time away from my business and invest in another one. How do I know it's a good bet?
Part of our due diligence process, we're going to go through and do that together on that one. So we'll get a lot of the background information on the people that are running that franchise system, and what you're looking for. You could be looking for a couple different things. If you really want somebody that's got experience, you'll take a look at the experience of the people that have started that franchise. If they're starting a new one, did they have previous franchise experience before? That's always a good plus if they did that. They'll have their franchise disclosure documents, and then there will be a breakdown of the franchise system itself. So you'll see if there's been any litigation, any bankruptcies, that sort of thing. I'll have a franchise attorney for you as well to go through those documents as well, and to go through the backgrounds of those people to make certain that it's good from a legal standpoint on there. But if they haven't done any franchising before and they're just getting started out, then why did they do it? The folks from A Place at Home, what started helping them when they first started out franchising. They just had a great background. They haven't been into franchising before, but they started that business because Place at Home is for a senior care type
Mhm.
franchise. And what they're looking for is that their parents, they're trying to get help for their parents and they couldn't find good help. So they decided they were going to start a business on that. So they had good hearts and they were good
Mhm.
people with a great background in business itself and working. So they started their business. And I put some people in there that were actually looking for a franchise that had 100 or more franchises, but really wanted some really hands-on help to get their business started. And the person that I sent over to Place at Home actually liked those two guys that are running it because they felt that they would get that more personalized service. So with the emerging brands, you're going to get a little bit more personalized service with the people who did it. But you just have to believe in those. And yeah, you can do background checks on all those folks. Franchise attorney will help you check out the
Mhm.
business, make sure there's nothing unusual or out of the ordinary on those. But you'll be meeting those folks in person on that to get to know them and to really get a good feel for them.
Got it. Got it. So it's a process. So there's a due diligence process. And what does that look like? So somebody says, okay, Greg, I'm interested in getting into franchising potentially. I'm going to explore this or whatever. Maybe I want to leave my job or whatever the reason is, or maybe again I want to build a secondary business. What can I expect? What's the process going to be like? Sort of just kind of high level overview.
You got it. So first step in the process, we get on the phone. You ask me anything you want about myself and about franchising. So what I'm trying to do is get you familiar with me, make sure you're okay with working with me. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what your expectations are about getting into a franchise. Make sure that they are, they're where they should be. I don't want you to be thinking you're going to be a millionaire in the next year or so because you're probably not on a franchise system. So I want to make sure your expectations are realistic. But get to know me. I just want to make sure you don't hang up on me and say, never going to talk to this guy again. He's nuts. So we get over that one. The next time I'm going to send you out an email questionnaire. It'll give you our due diligence process in there as well. We'll go through a questionnaire that you'll fill out. We'll talk about you for half hour, really getting down the nuts and bolts of where have you been? So what do you bring to the table? What are your skill sets? Where are you at now? How much time do you have to invest? How much time do you want to invest? How much money do you have to invest? How much money are you comfortable investing? And then where do you want to be 5 to 10 years from now? Once I get that information, gather that all through that, get to know you as much as possible. Then I already talked to the franchisors on a regular basis. I know who they're looking for in a successful franchisee. I can do the matchup, come back to you with 5 or 10 different opportunities. We get on the phone again, narrow that down to 2 or 3. I let the franchisors know you're interested in talking with them, and then we'll go through the process of learning about that franchise. You will have weekly calls with them. Again, you can go as fast or slow as you want to on that one. But you'll have weekly calls. They'll send you information. You'll do your homework on those. You and I, Paul, will get together every 7 to 10 days, usually once a week or so. Go over what you learned. Make certain that you're getting your answers, your questions answered to your satisfaction.
Mhm.
Looking into that franchise system. I'll have CPAs for you to check out their books. I'll have franchise attorneys to go over the legal stuff, funding people to take care of any funding that you need. And then you'll go through the franchise disclosure documents. Great information there, lots of good stuff. You'll talk to as many franchisees as it takes for you to get a good feel for that business.
Mm.
I'll have a list of questions for you for the franchisors, for the franchisees on that. Then eventually, at the very end, about 8 weeks, 2 months, 3 months down the road is what it usually takes. You'll go over and meet those folks in person, get to know
Mm.
them, look them eye to eye, and ask all those difficult questions when you're like that. And at their offices, get to know them. They send you home. That's when you decide whether or not you want to get involved in that franchise. And they do the same thing. They'll decide whether or not they want you in their franchise.
Yeah, because I guess it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Because they're going to be investing time and money. And I guess, I mean, for the skeptical side of me says, well, I'm going to give them a lot of money to buy rights, and they're going to make money right away. But the other side of me says, well, I don't think they want me to fail because that puts a blemish on their whole brand, right?
Yeah, there's two things. One of the things in the due diligence process when you're looking through that is that you want to make certain that they're making their money off the royalties, not off the franchise fee. Because if most of
Mm-hmm.
the money comes from the franchise fee, then you're right. Their whole motive then is just to sell
Sell
franchises.
franchises, yeah,
Right. We
right.
don't want them selling franchises. We want them awarding franchises, making money off the royalties to do that. In the franchise disclosure document, there's going to be a list of franchisees who are currently running the business, a list of franchisees who started the business and are no longer running it. Pretty quick, easy math to do success rate. We're looking for 85, 90% or better. And yeah, Paul, as you alluded to, they don't want you to fail because two things. One, it'll show up on the franchise disclosure documents.
Right.
And that says to us, consultants, if they get, a very low success rate, that they don't know how to pick out good franchisees. So
Hmm.
we don't want them. And also their motivation to get you successful is to make money off of those royalties. So the more successful you are, the more money they make, and that's what we want to look for is they're making their money off the royalties.
Right. Right. Got it. So, so with someone who, let's say, has a successful business now and they're generating profit and whatnot, and they want to expand, are there opportunities to get into franchising? Where, I mean, my typical vision is, you're going to go you're going to flip the burgers or whatever, going to run the business for a while, like you do a typical startup, right? Kind of bootstrap. But are there franchises where you can essentially be a passive owner? I mean, you can invest in other franchises, or is that something that comes downstream with like the master franchise agreement when you still have to kind of develop one territory?
There's franchises in almost every industry out there where you can be a semi-passive operator or a full-time operator. So that's what a lot of folks think is that when they're driving down the road, they see the brick and mortars, it's real expensive. I got to do it
Mhm.
full time. That's just not the case. There's the service industry for $150,000, give or take, brick and mortars, about 400,000 total investment. You can do semi-passive in either one, usually around 10 to 15 hours a week, depending on your management skill and style. Maybe a little
Mhm.
bit more when you're first getting started up on that. Uh, but definitely, so you manage the manager, you manage the profit and loss statements. If you don't like managing profit and loss statements, get a CPA to do that, and then you just do the manager part. And I actually have 4 franchises where they actually have a management team run it
Mhm.
themselves, so that you do almost nothing. Just meet with them about once a month or so on that one.
Right, because I mean, the ultimate goal, the Michael Gerber E Myth, right? The goal is to build the business that generates the profit, and the product is the business, right? It's not from the owner standpoint. It's not You're not the one in there, working in the business doing the day to day operational things. I mean, you could be, and a lot of times you have to start there, but to me, it seems like the franchise, it's already got the model on how to, all the systems are there. You now just need to put I would say the butts in the seats, the right butts in the right seats, right? And then, as you said, manage them. And then ultimately, maybe you could get a manager and you're managing the manager, leading the manager, um, because they're not totally passive. Somebody's got to watch the chicken house, as they say. But that's an advantage, right? That you don't have to go through the development process and the trial and error of going through like Michael Gerber's E Myth and developing these processes and the vision and all that. That's already done. you're basically buying into that. You're buying a team and support. And so it seems to me if you want to scale, to have the skill set of already building a business or successful in management or leadership somewhere would allow you to scale more effectively maybe than someone who's just been a what I would say a technician in just doing deliverables day to day to day in whatever role they were in. Would you agree with
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely correct, Paul. I would say that most of the franchises, as you alluded to, would rather you be working on the business rather than in the business. Because
Hmm.
if you're working in the business, you can't grow it as effectively as if you're working on the business. And
Right.
from your standpoint, Paul, as a business owner, you really don't want that business to revolve around you. You
Right.
want that business to run by itself for many different reasons. Mostly because so you have your goal, your vision was to have more time for your friends and family and make money at the same time. So you don't want that business that revolves around you. And then when you go to sell it, much if you decide to sell it, much easier to when it's not revolving around you to just sell that business off if you want to.
Right, it's worth a lot more. Is there a market within the franchising system? And I know that each franchising brand or concept has their own thing, but is there typically a market to sell? So if I say, okay, Greg, you set me with a franchise and I build a territory or whatnot, but I want to exit in 5 6 years. I mean, that's my goal here. I don't want to do this. Is not a lifetime job, but at Taco Bell or whatever whatever we build, right? Whatever franchise group. Is there a market generally within that concept or brand, or do you have to look outside of that? I mean, how does that work typically?
Yeah, Paul, that's a great question. There is a huge market for franchise resales. I have people come to me, a couple times a month, if not more, asking me for resales. And unfortunately, my inventory isn't that great for franchise resales because of the fact that when you go to sell your franchise, especially if you build it up and it's doing fine, is that you're going to tell the franchisor that you want to sell.
Hmm.
The first thing that they're going to do is they're going to tell any franchisees that are close by you that that franchise is for sale. So if it's doing fine, generally speaking, another franchisee is going to pick it up because they're already doing it, easy
Right.
step right in, grab that. So I don't get a whole lot of resales that come to me on that one because of that fact. Occasionally I do because no other franchisee wanted it. They're doing fine,
Mhm.
but great market for it. Really easy to sell a franchise that's doing good.
So if you've developed it, you follow the system, and you're profitable, then there's already sort of a ready-made market within that brand or that concept, typically to pick it up. I Another question too along those lines. Well, if it's well run and it's successful and you have people in place, if I'm in Virginia and you're in Texas and it comes available, I mean, do I have can I still maybe buy it? I mean, if I'm managing the manager, can I manage the manager there potentially? I mean, is there an open market, not just local?
It depends on the franchise, really.
Okay.
And if you're already a franchisee of that franchise, and you're in Texas and somebody's selling in Virginia,
Hmm.
uh, they'll have a talk with you about that if you want to pick it up and how you
Yeah.
plan on operating that remotely from
Right.
that standpoint. So the possibility is there,
Got
absolutely.
it.
They usually generally like to have you close by it because now you're the
Hmm.
local owner operator. That's kind of
Yeah.
the idea behind it. But they will make exceptions for really good franchisees that want to expand out, and they do it quite often.
But if I want to justify buying my airplane, and I to my wife, well, we need to get the airplane because now we have a business in Texas. We need to go visit it periodically. Um, that's a different question. It's a different conversation for a different day, right? Okay. Last thing, what's the outlook? I mean, what are the trends and outlook in franchising? Again, it's been around for a while. There's a lot of businesses out there. A lot of them are mature. What do you see for the future? Do you see a lot of new concepts? I mean, is it bright? I mean, just your 30,000 foot view.
There's always going to be a great business for franchising. Amazingly enough, during COVID, we kept very busy during that because so many people realized, we were all set in our ways, generally speaking. When we get our jobs, we're going there on a regular basis, and we love the routine in general on that one. Most people do. The routine was kind of interrupted
Yeah.
during that feature a little bit on that. So what happened was people were started realizing that all right, I can do something different, and it is possible to do something different. Well, let's look at the different things I can do. So we got really busy during the COVID area where people were, working from home, uh, and their usual daily lives were interrupted on that. Anytime there's a downturn in the economy, somewhat of, I don't know if you call it a recession. We've had too many recessions, but a few of those we've had in there, or we get a lot of layoffs. That's when people really start thinking that there's got to be something better out there
Mm,
than what I'm doing on
right.
that. So we get a lot of business from franchising. I think that it was a long time ago when corporations just started coming up and everybody was working out in the fields and the corporations were treating people just outstanding. You got
Mm,
great benefits, so they came in from the fields, they went to work for the corporations, everything was great. Now we've been working for the corporations for a long time. Now we're kind of realizing that they're okay, but maybe there's something a little bit better out there because we're just not getting the same kind of benefits that we used to get from the corporation. The retirement plans and that sort of thing. We got to do all that ourselves. So quite a few people are looking down the line on that and
mhm.
thinking that working for another company and making somebody else rich is not necessarily going to get me to where I want to be. At the end of the day. So it's always going to be a lot of people out there that want options, that want
Mhm.
the opportunity to at least look at what could be if they got into business. It's going to be some work. It's not easy, not for
Sure.
everybody. I won't
Right.
try and convince you that franchising is for everybody. The greatest thing since sliced bread, because for some people it's not.
Right.
But it's good to have those options. It's good to take a look at what you have to do to get to where you want to be quicker than if you were to do it through a corporation.
Right. Right. No, that's a good answer. So last question comes to mind. So what is the tip? And I know this is a loaded question because there's no typical, right? But I'm going to ask you anyway, what is the typical expectation you should have as a new franchisee to start seeing your business operate in the black? I mean, is this a 2-year process before you're like, okay, I got to have enough money in the bank to cover me for a year or 2 years or whatnot, and then we can expect, if we follow the plan, that we're going to be start to get profitable? Is it 3 years? What do you see, or what do you advise people on for that?
Great question. So brick and mortar building,
Hmm.
it's going to be a while on that one. So 3 years down the road, depending on what it is that you're investing in on that one, you'll start bringing in money. For most franchises fairly quickly, but to actually get in the
Hmm.
black and pay back everything that you did, because you're looking at a $400,000, $500,000 investment on something like that. You got to find the real estate. It takes about 9 months, 6 months, 9 months to
Hmm.
get it built out, to get it going. A little while longer on those. So you'll expect a little while longer to get it back. If you're looking for some of those in the brick and mortar, look for ones that have membership models and where the franchise really helps you grow that membership so that you can have a big membership right away, even before it opens up. So you've got people coming into your business, whatever it is, very quickly on that. So that'll get you out there a lot quicker. Service franchise, you are working from home or you have a small office, $150,000 investment. It's not unheard of in the first year or two to be right there in the black. Really, depending on which franchise you get into. I mean, there's one that where you do leather, vinyl, plastic repair. Very simple business, work from home. If you
Hmm.
do it yourself, you're probably pulling in 75, 80% ROI on something like that because there's not a lot of overhead on it. So
Right.
easily within the first year, you could be bringing in some money. It's a little under $100,000 to get started on that one. But in general, have enough money for a couple of years
Yeah.
to keep yourself going. For a service industry franchise, probably a little bit more than that for a brick and mortar franchise on
Right.
that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's legit. I mean, business generally doesn't, it takes a while to become profitable if you ever do, right? In business, most businesses, startups don't make it very far. And again, I know that's an advantage of franchising. You're all in from the beginning, right? And so you know what you're up against. You got people, and most entrepreneurs kind of bootstrap things along the way and don't know what they're up against and don't know what's around the next corner. And so it's a harder decision to make. And I know you see this just winding down. I see it. Um, as you get older and older, people realize that, hey, to your point, your retirement's not that all that it's cracked up to be, and maybe it's not going to be. I'm not going to have as much money as I thought I was going to have, kind of thing. I hear this a lot from people, and so they're looking. And of course, from an employer standpoint, the older an employee gets, the more expensive they are, right? And so you can hire two or three out of college for maybe the same price. I saw that in the future when I was young. I was like, that doesn't bode well for the future. Um, And so you can grab a hold of something and take it as big as you want to take it, right? Or as little as you want to take it, with franchising, if you find the right thing. And so your whole thing, Greg, is you help people, you help somebody like me that says, hey, this is what I want to do, but I don't know where to start, because some businesses are going to be, I'm going to do better at than others based upon my experience, my personality, what I like to do, what I don't like to do, my financial commitment, yada, 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 right? Versus me trying to go out there and figure it all out on my own. Again, trying to DIY. And so, do I pay you? How does that work? How do you get paid for all this?
Placement agency basically is what I do. So I work with about 500 different franchises. If you
Hmm.
decide to invest in one of the franchises I introduce you to, they pay me a referral fee. You don't pay me anything. I'm free to you.
There you go. So why would
Simple as
why
that.
wouldn't we work with you, right? In that scenario,
Right.
right?
Because it is, as you indicated, it is a real challenge to go out there and to look for a franchise for yourself. You can do it yourself. I tried doing it for myself when I
Yeah,
first started. So I clicked on about 20 different franchises, had about
yeah,
20 different franchise development people calling me. I was like, wow, confused as all heck. And then I got a
yeah,
whole franchise consultant. They're like, whoa, stop, take a step back.
yeah.
Where have you been? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? Let's narrow that field down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm a huge advocate of having an advocate, and no matter what you're doing, to be sort of dispassionate and can be like the person that says, okay, really, what are you trying to do? Okay, here are legitimate options at her, because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and all that, as we both know, and a lot of confusion. So, well, this has been great. Well, how can people get up with you if they're interested in learning more about franchising, and maybe they just want to dip their toe in there and kind of learn, or maybe they're thinking they've been, every day they, like, how do I get out of this job kind of thing? How do they reach you?
Go to my website, franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com. Email me at greg@franchisemaven.com or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and we'll get that in the show notes. And I know you wrote a couple of books on the subject too. So are they on your website, or how do they get access to
Yeah,
that?
sure. So a couple things there. If you go to my website, if you don't mind the PDF version, I'll send you a PDF version. It's on the front page. You just click on that, download PDF version. The book's yours. If you want a soft copy or hard copy or something like that, send me your address and I'll send that over to you. If you want to get my newsletter, there's on the front page of my website again. You click on that, subscribe to the newsletter, and you just get my newsletter once a week. There's many different things on the website you can get: a due diligence process, matrix of business types, 7 mistakes to avoid when you're looking at franchises. So for the do-it-yourselfers, a lot of good information there. If you don't want to do it yourself, just go there, start clicking on those things and download those. That'll give you all the information, especially the book, step-by-step process of what you and I will go through and how to investigate a franchise with real-world examples of the people that I work with. So again, if you're a DIYer, just go on there, check it out.
Awesome. All right, Greg, thanks for being on the show today. This was great.
I appreciate you having me, Paul. It was an honor. Great questions.
Hey, gang, just winding down here today. Thanks for listening to the show. And as always, if you need capital to grow your business, you're looking to purchase commercial real estate, or build a building, or invest in commercial real estate, or you're looking to acquire a business, or a competitor, or just need growth capital, we'd love to talk to you. We fund businesses all day long. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs win and to fund their businesses and fund their dreams so that they can make an impact in their community. Reach out to me today. Go to our website, click the button to schedule a 20-minute conversation, discovery call. We'll have a quick conversation, see if there's a need, see if there's a fit, and we can take it from there. The website is VPC, Victor Paul Charlie .capital. That's VPC .capital. All right, there's no .com on that. It's VPC .capital. As always, keep crushing it and hope to see you soon around here. Take care.